The City of Romulus Board of Zoning Appeals regular meeting agenda for Wednesday, October the 4th, 2023. First thing is the Pledge of Allegiance. Let's all stand for that.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Next item on the agenda is roll call. Mr. Lloyd?
Present.
Mr. Morris?
Here.
Mr. Jones?
Present.
Mr. Frederick?
Present.
And Chandler is present also. Also in attendance is Jeff Kemp, the Director of Building and Planning. Item 3 is approval of the agenda for this evening.
So moved, Mr. Chair. Second.
Who supported? All right.
Mr. Lloyd.
We have a motion by Mr. Frederick, supported by Mr. Lloyd, to approve the agenda for this evening. Take a roll call vote. Mr. Frederick?
Yes.
Mr. Lloyd?
Yes.
Mr. Morris?
Yes.
Mr. Jones?
Yes.
Chandler votes yes. The agenda has been approved. Item 4 is approval of the minutes for the Board of Zoning Appeals regular meeting held on September the 6th, 2023.
So moved, Mr. Chair. Support.
Motion by Mr. Frederick, supported by Mr. Morris, to approve the minutes held on September 6, 2023. Roll call vote. Mr. Frederick?
Yes.
Mr. Morris?
Yes.
Mr. Lloyd?
Yes.
Mr. Jones?
Yes.
Chandler votes yes. The minutes have been approved. Item 5, under old business, the first item is for a temporary 2023-004 Sheraton Hotel Airport parking. The location is 8000 Merriman Road. The parcel ID is number 80037-99-00028-710. And the request is requesting extension of temporary use approval in accordance with section 22.03E, and that's temporary uses and buildings of the zoning ordinance to allow approximately 172 of the 539 parking spaces on the property to be temporarily used for park and fly parking spaces. And the project is use of existing parking lot for park and fly. And the petitioner is Najib Lakhani. He's the RevMax Investments. Is he present? Would you come to the podium? Give us a little more insight on your project. We've talked before, I'm sure.
Thank you very much, Mr. Chairman and members of the board. Thank you for the opportunity to present with you. I'd like to introduce Mr. Stephen Dixon, who is the general manager of the hotel and is joining me this evening. Most of you, I believe, are familiar with the application and the hearing that we attended a year ago. But if I could take a moment and just briefly recap the purpose for our application today. We have a significant overcapacity of parking on our lot. We have 539 spaces, as you mentioned, Mr. Chairman. Our typical requirement for parking at the hotel is probably around 200. Most of that is because a significant amount of our business is for airline-related business. And then, of course, with the use of rideshare, we just don't have the kind of demand for parking that was the case when the hotel was built. As a result, we began to explore options to be able to redevelop the site. And that was when we formally applied for a temporary use to be able to use the space for park and fly. We undertook, since then, various conversations with engineers, brokers, and more recently, we've started discussions with Retail Strategies, which is a consulting group that has done work for the city, and they were recommended to us by the mayor's office as a group that might be able to assist us to identify uses on the site. We have had conversations with them about what they think might be possible for us to place on the site, what the requirements would be. They've shared some of their thoughts. We've had discussions with the city planning department in order to better understand what we could do in order to meet some of those requirements, and those conversations are continuing at the moment. While we try to ascertain what requirements there may be for placing a pad on the site, as well as what might be required by the city in order to accommodate those requirements. So those conversations are underway at the moment. In the meantime, our temporary use application for Park and Fly is now expiring as of tomorrow. And that is the reason for us being here. We're making an application, and to state that the requirements that were presented to us as necessary in order to secure the initial one-year term, we have made every effort to meet. We've registered with the State of Michigan Taxing Authority to remit and pay a parking tax that's required by the state. From the standpoint of security, we enhanced the lighting on the lot quite significantly. We've added security cameras that were required by the police department. We've contracted with an outsourced manned vehicle patrol service 7 days, 7 nights a week, I should say, and they are visible on the site with their vehicles and with lights. And that's occurring 7 days a week. Also required was for us to enhance the landscaping on Smith Road. Part of that requirement was predicated on the fact that if we were to add a fenced area in which to contain the parking, that this fence needed to be visually shielded from traffic on Smith Road. We went ahead and put the added enhanced landscaping in order to achieve that. That's all up at the moment. Some of it is going to be replaced just because by the time they installed it, some of that shrubbery had not held up. So in the fall is when they will be getting more shrubbery to be able to replace some of what was there, but it's already in place right now. Subsequent to us completing the landscaping, it was determined that we probably didn't necessarily need to have fencing anymore in consultation with the planning department. So we've paused that particular requirement at the moment, but the landscaping, as I said, has concluded. I note from the report from the police department that they have visited our site, that they have recorded approximately 13 incidences where they have been called to the site, and they've also stated that those 13 incidences are in line with other hotels in the area. I think considering that we are a significantly larger lot, I would submit that the added security precautions that we've taken are in fact helping. They also comment on the fact that they have observed that the security person has sometimes been seen asleep. That's unfortunate. We have reported that to the contract company to make sure that they take that up. Unfortunately, that is something that we're monitoring as well. As to access to the cameras that the police department also commented on, we have actually taken specific steps because of security, to make sure that only certain managerial members of our staff can access the security cameras. We certainly wouldn't want anybody and everybody to have access to that and compromise any of the recording that they have. So yes, we are controlling who accesses that, and it's certainly not overnight. But that's by design. But the police department is certainly welcome to come and view that at any time. That's the reason why we placed them there in the first place. So the request that we are making today is that we would like to submit an extension to the temporary use permit while we continue to have conversations and dialogue with Retail Strategies to explore what alternate uses we may have. We certainly have some limitations on the site. We have a water main that circumvents the building, and that does prevent us from certain uses, I shouldn't say certain uses, but from using all of the space that we have on the site. We have to be very specific about what areas in the site lend themselves for a parcel or a retail pad, and then working with the city to make sure that we can provide adequate amount of access to that particular pad, and then explore what retail uses that would be suitable for. Those are the steps that we're currently undertaking at the moment. And while we're continuing to do that, we're requesting that we give an extension to our temporary use for Park and Fly.
All right, thank you.
Thank you.
I appreciate that. At this point, we had notifications were made out for this public hearing and sent out first-class mail. And at this point, I guess we can close that portion. There's nobody in the audience that would want to comment on this that I can see, unless you would.
Maybe they're around the corner.
I guess to kind of summarize this, we could open it up for the board members for questions and comments. But I think I should read a memorandum that the Board of Zoning Appeals received from our director in regards to Sheraton Park and Fly. And I think I'm going to read it into the record, is your memorandum.
Okay.
Kind of summarizes things quite a bit. It's from Jeff Kemp, Director of Building and Planning, and the subject is temporary 2023-004 for Sheraton Park and Fly. And the applicant, Najib Lakhani, is requesting a temporary use variance for the Sheraton Hotel to continue using 172 spaces for Park and Fly in the existing parking lot. This was approved with conditions at the regular Board of Zoning Appeals meeting on October 5th, 2022, and is in operation. The parking lot lighting has been completed for security purposes. The irrigation and landscaping have been completed, and some landscaping that did die is being replaced. A permit was issued and finalized to have the parking lot repaved and striped. Looking into the area, it was decided to hold off on the fence as there were some issues with installation with the water main being underneath. And after further review, the fence may not be needed for this area with the lighting, security guard, and cameras in place. I have spoken with ordinance, and they stated they rarely get calls on this property in comparison to surrounding sites. This is a unique property with a large amount of rooms, and a very large paved lot as well. As stated in the police department review letter, they mentioned receiving 13 calls about cars being vandalized in the past year. And compared with it to specific Park and Fly lots, I do not know the number of vandalized vehicle calls from other Park and Fly lots. But I do know this is a hotel with Park and Fly as an accessory use, making it much different than specific Park and Fly lots. The Sheraton is continually working on security measures and always stay in contact with us. In my experience working with the owner, they are always willing to discuss any issues and make the necessary adjustments. The hotel has been completely renovated from top to bottom over the last few years. All permits were pulled and all inspections were improved. Certificate of occupancy and hotel license is in good standing. The owner has been working with retail strategies on possible ideas for development in the extra pavement space. This is a process that is in the works, as I am sure they can discuss this further. Based on all that I have seen at the property and what the owner has been doing with improvements, being a highlight in the hotel district and willing to help with making improvements in the city, I recommend approval of the temporary use for 12 months for the Park and Fly to continue. And that memorandum was from Jeff Kemp, Director of Building and Planning. I just felt I should read that. It kind of summarizes the packet with all this information. And with that, I'll open it up to the board members for questions, comments, or anything along those lines.
So I do have a question.
Mr. Lloyd?
Yes. I do have a question about the fencing. In the document, it says, put on hold, but it essentially sounds like the plan is to not proceed with the fencing. Is that a fair assessment?
I'm sorry, if you could repeat that, put on hold?
Sure. In the paperwork we received, it says that the fencing plan, and you
Oh,
already
yes,
admitted to it, the fencing plan has been put on hold, but it sounds like the intention is to not proceed with the fencing. Is that a fair statement?
We did run into challenges for the fence because the designated 172 parking stalls that we had required a fence to run at a particular area at the back of the building. What we discovered was that directly underneath there, and it's unfortunate, it's right underneath the natural line that the fence would run, is where the water main runs. And so it was suggested to us by the city that that would not be an appropriate spot to drill a post for the installation of the fence.
Okay. I guess my concern with that is that it was one of the contingencies in the earlier approval from last year.
Why don't you answer that?
Yeah, I know it was one of the contingencies, and since I've been here and I've been working with them on this, we've navigated through the whole fence issue and found the water main problems. And then as we were coming in time, I had decided that, because they were actually willing to put the fence in probably here a few months ago, and I had decided, well, you end in October, and then with everything that I've been looking at and seeing with your security and everything that's there, I don't know if the fence would be I don't know if the fence is needed with the security measures that are there. And then I also don't know if it would be a very appealing look for driving through there with the landscaping and everything. I mean, I'm not there at nighttime. I've been there many a times during the day, and the lot's never like full. I never see any issues or anything going on there. So my thought is, with the fence, if it's not needed and the security measures are kept up to where they're keeping an eye on everything, we can keep an eye on it. And if it ends up becoming a problem and we need to enforce to make the fence go in, then we can have those discussions with them and put the fence in. But where they were going to have to do it in the blacktop area was going to have to move some just to stay away from that water main in case anything was going to happen to it in that area. So that's kind of where we landed on the fence. And in the short time I've been here, my opinion from what I've seen there, if the security stays up and the cameras and now the whole parking lot's lit, all the lighting's fixed there and the parking lot's lit, if that stays up, then the fencing area may not be a needed necessity for it.
Understood. So, and maybe that's the solution. Maybe the better lighting is the solution, but when you read through it, you see that the police report did say that there seems to be a slightly heightened level of incidents in this particular lot versus some of the larger park and flies.
Yeah,
And then it also says that the security that is on site has been spotted sleeping, which you've seen that a million times, right? These 3 a.m., 4 a.m. shifts and the security guys just slumped
Yeah.
over in the car somewhere. So it does seem like maybe the fence would add some value, but I understand everything that you're saying with the challenges of the fencing and would it add just a minimal amount of security. So I guess I appreciate your team continuing to look into it and monitor it and make sure that we, make sure we're not making a bad situation by not adding the fence.
yeah, no, and I agree with you. If we come to realize that a fence is needed, then, you know what I mean, I'm sure we could work with the owner, with them, and they would be willing to do the fence. And I know with the police report, there's more in comparison with the park and flies, not in comparison with hotels.
Sure.
With hotels, it's actually much lower in comparison with other hotels. So it's kind of because the other park and flies are all just big lots with lots more cars in them. So by volume, yes, I do understand that aspect of it, but if they're willing to work with the security team to ensure that they're making sure they're staying awake and they're moving forward on it,
Good luck.
I don't know if, yeah. I don't know if the fence is gonna bring, I don't know if the fence, maybe it would bring a little bit more heightened security, but I really don't know if it would make much of a difference. And in my opinion.
You can only do what you can do.
If I could comment. We have approached the security company, and we have put in place some provisions to make sure that, we limit that we don't run into that kind of an occurrence anymore. So we put in a program where they're going to be checking in with us, every hour. So we know that they're patrolling the site and they're doing what they're supposed to do. Because we do that with our own security. We've required them to do the same. Every hour they got to come in and they got to sign in with the front desk so we know for sure that they are doing what they're supposed to be doing.
Good. Thank you.
Thank you.
Any idea what kind of vandalism was done to those cars?
Yes, sir. Catalytic converters, we had someone that ran.
Oh, yeah.
Catalytic converters, we also had someone run into one of the cars in the parking lot. We believe that might have been someone from offside the property that ran into a car. And there was only one car stolen during the 12-month period of time.
It's kind of difficult to steal a catalytic converter, isn't it?
The catalytic converter, they do it within like 30 seconds or 2 minutes. They pull up.
I watch it on TV, yeah.
Now, it's the older cars that are easier to hit versus the newer cars. Newer cars have a pan that's underneath the body of the car. It makes it a little bit more difficult.
Yeah.
Our shuttle has even been hit at one time.
But that kind of vandalism is kind of popular across the country.
Yes, it is.
Cities, parking lots, you name it.
So, just if I can make a comment through the chair.
Yes.
On the subject of fence, if whoever's up to no good wants it bad enough, a fence will not stop that. Case in point, they've been stealing brand-new vehicles off the assembly lines. Drive them right off and out of the gate. Even in 94 at the truck plant, they drove them down the bank to 94 and took off with them, on camera.
Yeah.
They watched them do it, called Dearborn Police, and they were on it, but they made off with a lot of vehicles.
Another Ford.
Chrysler, General Motors, and Ford all have the same issue, and they have fences.
No, they all have.
They're rail yards, they have their own security, they have fences. I don't think the fence is going to stop anybody that's determined. So that's just my input on that, from what I have seen on the news.
Yeah.
Like 13 incidences in comparison to, like, say, the regular park and flies, you would have to buy passage into park and fly to go in there to commit crime, to come back out through a gate with
Yeah.
they'd have to pay to steal. So that's just my personal opinion on where the fence really wouldn't stop too much, I don't believe anyways.
Thank you. Any other questions, comments? Well, thanks for your input and tell us what you're going to do. I guess at this point in time, a motion is in order.
Motion to approve Sheraton Hotel temp -2023-004, extend temporary use for 172 of 539 parking spaces to be utilized for airport parking lot.
I second.
All right, we have a motion by Mr. Lloyd, supported by Mr. Frederick. Excuse me. The motion is to approve the temporary use, to approve in accordance with Section 22.03, temporary uses in buildings for the zoning ordinance to allow approximately 172 of the 539 parking spaces on the property to be temporary use for parking spaces. And that is for the Sheraton Hotel airport parking. Take a roll call vote. Mr. Lloyd?
Yes.
Mr. Frederick?
Yes.
Mr. Morris?
Yes.
Mr. Jones?
Yes.
Chair Chandler votes yes. Your approval has been approved, or your request has been approved for that temporary use for those parking lots.
Good luck.
Good luck with
Good luck
it.
with your project, and thanks for your improvements in the area. Have a good night.
All right, item 6, under new business. It's for BZA 2023-014 for Romulus Auto Repair. The location is 37385 Goddard Road, Suite 200. Parcel ID is 80078-13-0180-005. And the request is for a use variance in accordance with Section 22.039D, use variances to allow a spray paint booth inside the current auto repair facility. The use is considered vehicle body repair, which is not permitted in the CBD-3 district. And their project is a spray paint booth for existing auto repair facility. And the petitioner, who is not here, Hassan Saleh is the owner. And we have a request to postpone this.
Yes, the owner requested to postpone this from this meeting to a meeting at a further date. As I've been working with him discussing this for months now, and there's just more information that needs to be provided on environmental stuff and different things with the paint booth itself. So he decided he wanted to postpone this.
Just kind of indefinitely, or?
Yeah, he said November till the next meeting, but
Yeah, whatever.
I think I don't know when it'll be, to
Well,
be
we'll
honest.
just postpone it in
Yeah,
general.
we're postponing, yeah.
Okay, I guess at this point in time, there's a motion that's in order to postpone this.
So moved.
Second.
Motion by Mr. Morris, supported by Mr. Frederick, to postpone the request by BZA 2023-014 Romulus Auto Repair, to postpone this request for paint booth
Yep.
to a later date. Take a roll call vote. Mr. Morris?
Yes.
Mr. Frederick?
Yes.
Mr. Lloyd?
Yes.
Mr. Jones?
Yes.
Chair votes yes, and that has been, the motion has been approved to postpone this item. I guess that's got it.
I think so.
All right, under 7, excuse me, we have the city planner status report, which is always interesting. Any discussion on that?
Yeah, Carol is at a conference for city planners.
Is that in Traverse City?
It is.
That's what's
Yep,
up.
yep, it is. She'll be
Must be
gone the
nice.
rest of the week, and she'll be back in on Monday. But there is, tomorrow, there is a scheduled training for all the different boards and commissions. It is here. It is scheduled for 5 o'clock. I do know there'll be food here. The mayor will be here. There'll be Steve Hitchcock will be here, and it's training to help keep us with redevelopment ready. You know, there's supposed to be once a year training for all the different boards and commissions and everything. So I believe everybody got invites, and hopefully if you guys are available, you can make it.
Looking forward to it.
Awesome.
Yep.
And then just to add as well, I know next month there will be, it'll probably be a busier meeting. I think we have 5 right now, different variances requests. So they're coming in, they've all been submitted, so we will see which ones all go. They're all different spectrums of the ordinance, so,
That sounds good.
yep.
We have all the alternates in line.
Yeah. Well, I think this is a good thing to have that meeting tomorrow.
Yeah.
Kind of upgrade us and update us on some things.
Yeah.
I think, speaking for myself, I think I need it.
Well, it's good to learn, right?
Yeah.
I know I need it.
Not because of having food, free food.
Yeah. It's a bonus, though.
Any other questions or comments?
If we get the food, do we have to stay?
Maybe?
So one comment, or are we in the section 8 discussion phase now? Is that where we're at?
I'm sorry?
Okay, so just one comment. So I recognize that when these guys, when we approved them the first time, we had some contingencies. And I think it'd be good feedback, maybe we'll give it to Carol, is that when somebody is coming back for like a renewal, it would be good to see the contingencies that we approved them as, like kind of right up front, so that we can see if they actually met all the contingencies that we approved them for in the prior time. Now, it was in here, and you had to read through it a little bit to see,
Yeah.
hey, they were supposed to do this, and this. So that's why I jumped on the fence one. And I understand that your team helped them out, but I didn't want them to get something approved under a certain pretense and then just simply not be able to do it later on, right? So that was my concern with it.
Yeah.
So I appreciate your commentary about why it was allowed for them not to put it up, because I want to make sure that these folks do the very things that we approve them.
Yeah.
that we
Yeah,
approve them
and
to.
with the letter, I will make sure that those things go up front when anything else comes in. I did this letter for this one because I've been working with them and with a possible development over there really for 6 or 7
Yeah.
months now. But I will make sure all those contingencies go up front, because those were all things we were working on, and they were
Exactly.
working on getting them met. And we ran into a few issues with the fence and had discussions about it. But I will definitely, because they're very transparent, you know what I mean? Anything that we've went to them with or asked or had a concern with, they've always been willing to make an improvement. So I will definitely keep an eye on, and if it becomes a fence looks like something is needed because it could change anything or help the security, then I know I could bring that to them, and they would work through that.
Sure, yeah. Oh, sorry, go ahead.
No, go ahead. I was just gonna say, is there any, because I understand the water main, is there anything you can do where the fence is going?
Right, that's what I was going to ask.
Can't put it around, or?
Is a spot been located if they have to go with the fence? Where are they going to put it? Because I know your water main is probably, it's a minimum of 5 foot of cover on the water main. And they're going roughly, depending on the post, 4 feet deep.
Yeah,
And
42.
you're coming real close, and it's probably a 12-inch, well, with that building over there, probably a 12-inch water main, and definitely don't want no oops.
Yeah, nothing, and they really don't want anything on top of it.
No,
But
not at
we
all.
have looked at if a fence was needed to go in, how it would have to be kind of mapped out, and it's not the
That's what I'm.
greatest looking thing ever, but if it had to happen, we do have it mapped out to where it would kind of jog and move some, but it could go in. And the other part about what the fence was also, this being, the hopes is we're going to get a development there on that edge, because they do have a extreme extra amount of pavement over there. And right now, we're talking about, like the Smith Road Retail Strategies had commented that they would want, any developer that would want to come in and put a restaurant or something there, they would want a direct access. So we would want, that's what we're working on right now, is trying to figure out, could we get that middle cut in Smith Road and get another cut right to that area? And if that could happen, then it would be more appealing for developers from what Retail Strategies is telling us. So my thought is with the fence too, I'm hoping this is temporary, we get a development there. So I didn't want to put a temporary fence that you don't dig holes in. I wasn't really keen on that idea, because that was one thing we kicked around. And the other one was, well, if we put the fence up, do we really want the fence there? And then when it's gone, whether that was gonna be tomorrow or 12 months from now, then you're ripping it up and you're messing the pavement all up, you gotta redo all the pavement and everything. So the hopes is to get something, get some sort of development in there, is what we're hoping to do.
Whatever you do, you want it to look nice.
Yes.
Well, I think in this next year, you got 12 months to make some other plans or look at redevelopment or something. We can also look at this vandalism issue.
Yes.
You know, if it gets worse or something, they may seriously have to consider some kind of other protection, like a better fence or something.
Oh, absolutely.
But I think this next year, just this last year, they had 13 vandalisms there. I don't know how many were catalytic converters. I don't think they were all catalytic converters.
Not all. I think that they had one car stolen in the year
One hit and run.
and one hit and run, and the rest were all catalytic converters.
So, on the same conversation, I appreciate Mr. Lloyd bringing it to, put it on the record again, which is great, keeps it in the conversation. And second, we could be getting ours cut off right now.
Yes. I mean, hopefully not.
Hopefully not.
They hit my church van, and when they hit it, one blade got stuck, so they just took the saw in, put a new blade on there.
And kept going.
And kept going. And with those reciprocators, cordless reciprocators now, oh my goodness, and they even getting smaller, where they're more convenient.
Right.
And you go get a decent blade, you don't cut a 3-inch pipe in. You cut a 3-inch pipe in about 2 minutes.
Well, I know GSL down the street, formerly DST, they've had issues to the point where they petitioned to have the vehicles parked up next to the building in the quote-unquote fire lane, away from the fence. So they've had people coming through their fence and over their fence stealing converters.
Oh, yeah, they're gonna get them.
Yeah.
Like you say, they're gonna get there.
If they want them, they get them.
Yeah.
Period.
But, Mr. Lloyd, to your point, I will, on anything that comes in now that's
As a
like an
renewal.
extension,
Yeah.
that they were supposed to meet requirements before,
Yeah.
I will make sure that's all up front, and you don't have to.
At least you can go down the list and say, you know,
Exactly.
okay, this,
Right,
this,
right,
yes,
right.
why not
Yeah.
this one?
Yes, and this didn't get done, and here's why.
Exactly.
I'll do a better job at making sure you guys get that right up front.
Thank you. That'd be great.
Appreciate that.
Okay, with that, the next item is adjournment. Anybody interested in adjourning this meeting?
So moved.
Mr. Jones?
So moved.
Okay.
Second.
Motion by Mr. Jones, supported by Mr. Lloyd, to adjourn this meeting. Take a roll call vote. Mr. Jones?
Support, yes.
Mr. Lloyd?
Yes.
Mr. Morris?
Yes.
Mr. Frederick?
Yes.
Chair votes yes. This meeting is adjourned.